You're listening to Arcane Carolinas, an exploration of the Carolinas' folklore, legends, myths, and modern weird. Each episode, we examine the historical context of our topic and aim to preserve some of the stories that help make this part of the world such a fascinating place.
Weirdly, we're like in the yard of a different event, and so people are going to keep talking to us probably.
Yeah, so this is Arcane Carolinas. I'm your co-host, Charlie Bushaw.
I'm your co-host, Michael Williams.
And tonight, we will be inside the building right over there, the beautiful Carolina Theatre of Durham. However, right now, we're enjoying the weather, and people are enjoying interrupting us.
Although it's great. People are interested to see what's going on.
It's nice, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. I have no idea what the sound is going to be like on the live stream. We're just doing it to because that's what we usually do.
But if you're watching this and you can't hear us, then saying this will be of no help to you. But eventually this will be an episode and it'll sound better.
I can't hear you!
Anyway, so
let's get into it.
Yeah.
Get in on it.
So
get it on you.
Indeed. So are we recording?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Good deal. Just making sure.
That's not the way I normally talk in real life.
No.
Which is a lie. Sure. I actually was just saying.
Yeah, actually you did.
Yeah,
okay, but.
Okay.
So, tonight we are at the Carolina Theatre of Durham, in Durham, North Carolina, for the Retro Film Series night. We're one of the sponsors for one of the movies tonight, so we get to do this.
So if you're here tonight at the Carolina Theatre of Durham, we'll be in there.
Yeah. You're probably not here yet, or you're super early for the movie.
Yeah.
But we'll be in the lobby later when the movie is about to start. So, the Carolina Theatre of Durham, I'm going to stop looking at that. The Carolina Theatre of Durham.
I'm going to keep looking at it.
You do that. So, it was in 1923, the city of Durham said, let's build a public auditorium and performance space.
Okay.
And then in 1926, the Durham Auditorium opened. And I'm going to take just a second to lift my phone up, and I'm going to take a picture of the Carolina Theatre right now in this moment.
Okay.
And I'm doing that in part because I love the way that podcasts offset time in weird ways.
Uh-huh.
So if you're listening to this as an episode and then you go look at the post on Facebook, then you'll see that picture and you just heard me take it. I feel like that's a weird cool science fiction-y thing that the internet allows. So anyway.
Digital artifacts.
Exactly. And if you look at the very top of the building up there, it says Durham Auditorium because this was not originally the Carolina Theatre. In 1929, the city said, let's rename it to the Carolina Theatre. But they'd already built it, so it says Durham Auditorium.
The guys up there with the chisel and a hammer like, ding, ding,
exactly.
ding. Now you change it?
They didn't have delete and undo, or anything like that. They didn't have cut and paste. Yeah, exactly. So the building is designed in the Beaux Arts style. If you're familiar with the Beaux Arts style, then great, you know what that means. If you're not, think of basically like any movie set in the late 19th century, early 20th century that involves like Grand Central Station or anything like that.
The time when everyone talked like this.
Exactly. Like big wide staircases.
Big wide staircases.
And like sweeping curves. The Beaux Arts style. And like really tall floor-to-ceiling windows and columns or the appearance of columns. And
we're going to look fancy.
Yes. A few examples of Beaux Arts style buildings from the Carolinas because they are all over the place in the Carolinas. In North Carolina, you've got the Ashe County Courthouse, the Iredell County Courthouse, the Lumberton Post Office, Union Station in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, the Jacksonville Masonic Temple. Mm-hmm. You can also see pictures of all of these on the internet if you look them up.
Okay.
And the Flatiron Building in Asheville. And then in South Carolina, you have basically half of Charleston. Then
basically the city.
Yeah. And then you've got the Marlborough County Courthouse, Japonica Hall in Darlington. Flavor Country, yes.
Is done in the Beaux style.
It's done in the Beaux style.
We're going to call this Flavor Country.
Is actually where Bojangles comes from.
The secret spices are good.
I'm really glad that I got you with that one. Okay. Then there's the Carnegie Public Library in Sumter, South Carolina, the Greenville County Courthouse, Lookaway Hall in North Augusta, South Carolina. Right?
That's not a good name for a hall.
Not a good name at all.
What's going on at the Lookaway Hall? You don't want to know.
Yeah, you don't want to know. So
it's not for you.
Basically, if you live anywhere in the Carolinas and your county courthouse is considered historic, it's a Beaux Arts style courthouse.
Yeah, Beaux Arts style.
So In the case of the Carolina, in the case of it's just that I don't know what to say.
Nobody does. That's why people stop talking like that.
I should have put in my notes, Charlie's going to make a voice. And then I would know what to do.
But you didn't know. We don't plan these, by the way.
Yeah, we don't.
We don't script this. These are very rough notes.
That's also, like, I'm really happy, again, that I got that Bojangles joke in there. So, in the case of the Carolina, the Beaux Arts style is reflected in the stone facade, suggesting columns, the windows of the Connie Moses Ballroom on the second floor. Suggesting columns.
I prefer suggestive columns.
I've been to that party. No, anyway, and the Fletcher Hall, the architecture and decoration of Fletcher Hall, which is the original 1,048-seater auditorium, indicated in the original name of Durham Auditorium. The city renamed Durham Auditorium to the Carolina Theatre in 1929, and for nearly a century, it has been more or less in continuous operation. And it has like live acts and movies and movie film series and movie film festivals and things like that.
Sure.
Everybody from Kate Hepburn to Lou Reed has performed here. And in fact, I did not see Kate Hepburn here, but I saw
Michael's
Lou Reed.
200-year-old vampire.
Exactly. That's why I'm wearing the bat shirt. We just got to hide out in the open is the best way. Ask Anne Rice. She'll tell you. So she'll kill you afterwards. But so I have seen Lou Reed. I've seen Rue McClanahan. I've seen John Waters. I've seen Amy Mann. I've seen They Might Be Giants. I've seen Rufus Wainwright. I have seen so many amazing acts here.
I went to a conference here once.
There you go. That's something.
I've done a thing.
If you went into the big auditorium and you heard the talk, that's Fletcher Hall.
There you go. I've been there.
Yeah, that's the original Durham Auditorium.
Okay.
So it is the last of Durham's original 13 movie theaters.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That kind of makes it sound like they were all built at once, though.
They basically were. like Durham wasn't...
Motion pictures of the future!
Durham was like a really successful tobacco town.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, anytime any luxury came into existence, a dozen of it would appear in the middle of town.
The Lucky Strike execs were like, I know what we need!
Exactly. And so like there were movie theaters all over downtown Durham at one point. And it's funny, you can still see some of them if you know what you're looking for, because now they're things like shoe repair shops, because they were really tiny little movie theaters.
Yeah.
But you can like recognize the shape of a movie theater entrance or the portcullis, things like that.
The suggestive columns.
So, during World War II, soldiers at Camp Butner in North Carolina were bused to the Carolina Theatre to watch movies.
Oh, cool.
Which I find interesting. During segregation, I found this really a fascinating part of the history, and they're very big on promoting this part of their history. During segregation, African-American patrons of the theater were forced to go in a separate entrance and climb 97 steps to get to their ticket window, and then restricted to seating on the second balcony. And in 1963...
It's almost like they were trying to dissuade people.
It's almost. So protests started against this started in 1961 with students from what's now North Carolina Central, Duke University, UNC Chapel Hill, and a bunch of local civil rights organizations and organizers. Those folks got together and started what were called round-robin protests, where basically protesters would line up around the block at the ticket window that was for white people and ask to buy a ticket. And they would get told no, and they would say, thank you very much. And then they would walk to the back of the line. And they did this for 2 years. And eventually the city elected a new mayor, this guy named DeWentz Grabaric, who is renowned as a very forward-thinking mayor. He was elected in 1963, and he immediately said to the business leaders in Durham, we have to desegregate this city voluntarily immediately.
Yeah.
And which was very brave for a white politician in the South as a position. And in fact, within a couple of months, had negotiated total voluntary desegregation of all restaurants, theaters, and government facilities in the city of Durham.
Cool.
Yeah. So they have the original ticket booth and everything.
I was about to say this, but the steps are still here somewhere.
Yeah, they've got it all preserved, and they have a display that's a permanent historic display.
Oh, that's great. Can you go up them?
Absolutely. Well, they're actually they're around the corner on the other side of the building. Yeah, they're in them. Yeah. It's cool. Wild. So it's really, really fascinating to me because Durham was one of the very first places to desegregate in the South and did it voluntarily.
I did not know that.
Yeah, there you go.
Learn something new every day.
Exactly. In 1970,
I'm actually learning a lot on this one.
There you go. In 1977, the city closed the theater because it basically wasn't worth keeping in business,
Okay.
and was threatening to demolish it.
Ew.
But the same year, the North Carolina Department of Archives and History, the same folks who operate the State Library, which we have drawn from many times,
Yeah.
and I have like 7 books I need to return there, that year they surveyed Durham and declared the Carolina a significant historical structure.
Oh, that's great.
And put almost all of the city center up for National Historic Register status, and it got it, and the building was saved. A Duke professor named Dr. Monty Moses, is that his correct name? Yeah, Dr. Monty Moses, and his wife Connie formed a nonprofit corporation called the Carolina Cinemas Corporation and convinced the city, let us come in and run the place for you.
Sure.
And keep it open, and we'll do the fundraising while you figure out a plan for how to renovate the building.
People ate that up, obviously, because we're still here.
Yeah. In 1988, throughout the 80s, Connie Moses, for whom the Connie Moses Ballroom is fittingly named, and a really good friend of hers named Pepper Fluke, who was a local artist and activist and all kinds of good stuff.
I'm sorry, it just sounds like
it's
a stage
fun
name. It sounds like
a stage name, but it's not. She was a
I got
research.
too much pepper on my on my Caesar salad. It was a pepper fluke.
She was a research pathologist, actually. But also she was a potter. She was really cool. She
It's
was
like
a really
where you
neat
like
person.
loosen the top of the pepper shaker and then hand it to someone,
it's
and
the
just
April Fool's
done,
pepper
and
shaker.
yeah. It's a pepper fluke.
Okay, that's it works. So they spent most of the 80s in charge of a legion of 200 local milliners and carpenters who volunteered their time, materials, and expertise to redo the ballroom and begin renovating the interior. And by 1988, the city had a plan, they had funding, and they closed the theater for 6 years of massive major renovation and reopened in 1994. In the course of which, and I'm going to take another picture so that if you're listening to this episode and you go look at the Facebook album, this click is the seam between the original Durham Auditorium and the cinemas structure, which was open in 94.
I just want to note that I keep staring up here at the fact that there's outlets on the side of that. You see that?
Yeah.
Like we could, if we had a ladder.
If we had a ladder. But they'll like string up lights and stuff for film festivals and things like that.
Somebody just commented, and we can't respond right now because it's all the way over there, but it says Pepper Fluke.
Pepper Fluke. She was a fascinating person. Look her up.
Is Pepper Fluke watching?
No, she died in 2017.
That doesn't preclude necessarily.
That's true. She could be ghost watching.
The afterlife on might have
I like
Facebook.
how I was like, oh my God, you're going to offend her.
You're going to offend Pepper Fluke. Pepper Fluke somewhere is spinning.
She was a potter, so she probably is.
I really like that I'm getting you to be inappropriate today.
You are. It's a Friday. It's been a long week, you know?
Yeah.
So...
Because normally you're the more buttoned down.
I am.
You're just like, Charlie, that's inappropriate.
But I made a pun today, and you can never let our coworkers know. So, this new part of the building contains Cinema 1 and Cinema 2. Mm-hmm. It also, over here in this part of it, used to be a video rental store to help them recoup
that's fun.
funds. Yeah, I remember when that was the case. So... It is not to be confused with other Carolina theaters of the Carolinas.
Yes, because there are many.
There's the Carolina Theatre of Greensboro, late to the scene in 1927. There is the Carolina Theatre of Charlotte, a.k.a. Belk Place.
Like named after the department store?
Yes. Well, the Belk Place is named after somebody for whom the store was named, yes.
Okay.
Or like somebody in the family, you know.
I think the last time I ever went into a Belk's, whatever, I got a belt. I got a belt at Belk's.
There you go. We had Belk Simpson up in the mountains when I was a kid. That was the thing. Anyway, it's kind of like when you go to a Target and it's a Target like Heartland. You know?
Have you ever seen the Walmarts that are just grocery stores?
Yeah.
It's like green instead of blue or whatever. Yeah, very strange.
Wild. So there's also the Carolina Theatre of Allendale, South Carolina, the Carolina Dance Theatre in Florence, Carolina Opry in Myrtle Beach. The name has been used widely in the Carolinas, and in fact, when I was a kid growing up in a little town up in the mountains, the like single-screen ancient theater that my grandparents had gone to on Main Street was the Carolina, and I went to it through junior high.
I am going to declare, if I am ever in a situation where I have a house where there's like a room with a television in it, like a screening room, I don't think I'll ever have that, but if I do,
But if you do.
But if I do, I'm going to call it the Carolina Theater.
There you go. There used to be a Carolina Theater in Chapel Hill. I went to that a bunch of times in college. Oh, well. So these days, the Carolina Theatre of Durham is the 5th largest performance venue in the Triangle and is one of the smallest performance venues to rank in Pollstar's top 100 theaters worldwide, which it has done every year since 2012.
I mean, it is really nice.
It is gorgeous inside.
I could see that.
It is amazing. And the acoustics are phenomenally good.
Because historic theaters are really fun to visit. There's actually, you might get into this. There's hey, a leaf. It's fall.
Hey, check that out.
So there's actually a group of National Historic Theater Association.
Yeah.
And these are really beloved places. I've been to a few. And this one is head and shoulders a step above.
Oh, totally.
Many.
Yeah. And especially in Fletcher Hall, the original auditorium, the acoustics in there are so good. I have listened to more than one acoustic performance in the place, and it sounds phenomenal from the balconies. So it's amazing. Love it. I've seen John Waters here, actually. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so good. Anyway.
I handed him books once.
There you go.
I worked a book signing, and I handed him books.
I told him once that I watched his movie Hairspray while trapped in a hotel room with my parents, who are racist. And he said, well, that's the only way to watch it, isn't it?
He didn't say a word to me. He just stuck his hand out and I handed him another book.
I paid for him to talk to me.
Yeah.
So,
I was getting paid.
Yeah, so. There you go. Nice. These days also, it is the home to a whole bunch of film series and annual events, including, but not limited to, the Nevermore Film Festival, which is usually in February. It is a horror film festival. They do features. They do short film collections. It is great. Highly recommended. Out South Queer Film Festival, formerly the North Carolina Gay and Lesbian Film Festival, which I've been to many times. Anime Magic Film Series, which was just last weekend. Splatterflix Film Series, which will be in 2 weeks, and I'll be here with an author table selling books and giving away Arcane Carolina stuff. The Movie Diva Film Series.
Do you live here?
I do live here.
Oh.
I just have a little bed in the back where it used to be a rental place. That's my room. The Movie Diva Film Series, which I've also been to a bunch of times, which is really fun. And that is just like classic, Hollywood powerful ladies movies. Cinema Overdrive, which describes itself as the very best in cult, exploitation, and gonzo cinema, specializing in the audacious, the ludicrous, and the flat-out ridiculous.
So they show John Waters movies?
Yeah, probably. Mostly what they show actually is like weird 70s car chase movies.
I'd like
Grindhouse kind of stuff.
Oh my gosh, there is one about, it's like a super camper.
No, I've never.
It's amazing. It's on YouTube. It's in its entirety, and it's like this fiber. It looks like a fiberglass torpedo with wheels. Like, you know how the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile is like fiberglass and very smooth. It's like that, but like very retro. What they thought the future would look like. So it's these like big rounded corners, and it's just like, I forget what it's called. Somebody sent it to me. Rob, my buddy Rob, who sent it to me. And hi, Rob. Thanks for sharing. I think it was either Super Van or like Super Camper. Or,
yeah, probably.
I don't know. And I see that we're getting more comments on the Facebook phone, and I cannot reach it from here, and I cannot read it from here.
I'm
so
wearing my glasses, and so I'm going to respond to one. Oh, there is also the Carolina Theater in Asheville, yes. I'm going to respond to 2 comments, apparently, because I can read that because I'm wearing my glasses right now. And one of them is that a Twin Peaks background on Michael's phone? And the answer to that is, yes, it is. I have the Red Room as my phone background. Thank you.
And here's a fun bit of trivia for those of you listening to this afterwards.
Yeah.
Somebody's ringer went off over in the courtyard, and it had the same tone as mine. And I went, oh, crap, where's my phone? And I started freaking out. So if you're watching on the video and you saw me reach for my pocket and then look under the paper and then look under the headphones, it's because I was freaking out until I realized that my phone is right there.
That's so funny.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the way it is.
Situational awareness, people.
We also do the Retro Film Series, which we're sponsoring tonight, and which, like the American Sci-Fi Classics track at Dragon Con, basically has as its rule movies that are over 20 years old. And it is home to the Durham Savoyards, their annual Gilbert and Sullivan production, Carolina Ballet, Mallarmé Chamber Orchestra, Durham Symphony Orchestra, all sorts of good stuff. And you can buy beer and wine. Do I love the Carolina Theater, and thus I'm trying to entice you to come to it? Yes.
I'm pretty sure you live here, and you just haven't told me about that.
I do not technically live here.
Well, you spend a lot of time.
I do.
Part-time resident.
Yes.
Can I tell you my favorite Carolina Theater story before we get into the spooky stuff?
Yeah, totally.
Because we're about to get into some ghost stuff.
Yeah.
My favorite Carolina Theater story.
Yes. Yes. I'm so happy.
Comes from 1961. As reported in the Durham Morning Herald on Thursday, March 30th, the morning after the event, the article was titled Students Cavort.
Students cavort.
Cavort. The Carolina Theater Management is hopeful that Spring Madness, collegiate style, will not lead to further antics on its stage. Tuesday night, the movie audience was shook up after two students leapt on the stage, turned their backs, and removed their trousers. This was newsworthy, people. Theater employees raced to the telephone to seek police.
Do cops hang out by phones?
I guess. Back in the day, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
While spectators yelled and applauded, the unorthodox male strippers donned their trousers and beat a hasty exit through a side door, a good step ahead of the police.
This is like old times. You have to remember the number for the police and everything.
All right. You just spelled police, right? P-O. I don't even know if they had letters associated with numbers back then. On the same evening that the article was printed, two Durham police officers questioned two University of North Carolina students about the incident. Eyewitnesses differed on IDing the boys. No charges were made. However, in May, so sometime later,
they didn't have much to go on other than complexion.
There was butts. So in May 7th, 1961, the Daily Tar Heel ran an article, Court Suspends Student of Law Until December. A first-year law student was convicted of being partially unclothed before a Durham theater audience by the law school court here on a Friday night.
Wow.
So some kind of kangaroo court at the law school convicted Ken Friedman of Allenhurst, New Jersey was the student's name. He was suspended until December 1st, 1961, where he could apply for spring semester readmittance.
Damn.
Yeah, it was rough. The basis for the conviction was eyewitness testimony of two Durham residents who identified Friedman as one of the boys who entered a door leading to the stage, declared, "Yoo-hoo," and dropped their trousers before running away. There's more details, and it ties into some other stuff. But basically, it was several months of drama. Several months.
There was a concerted manhunt.
Yes. And the police were like, we're not dealing with this. The police weren't having it.
No, they have better things to do
they
any
were
day
just
of the week.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
But the law school at UNC had enough. And they tracked down the perpetrators and doled out Tar Heely justice.
And people wonder why nobody likes loggers.
Yeah. So anyway, good times. That's my favorite Carolina theater story.
That's really funny.
I'll give credit where credit is due. I named the newspapers, but I pulled that from Blood on the Old Well by Sarah Watson Emery.
All right. Then wow. There we go. That is amazing.
So...
And that happened right 30,
there.
Right there, 100 feet away. That is so funny.
So if you hear someone yell "yoo-hoo" tonight, you know what's about to go down. What's that comment say?
Well, it could have been worse. The students could have been of Scottish descent. I don't know. You don't have to illuminate me as to why. I don't know why that would be worse.
But I'm taking a bit of umbrage at that comment.
But thank God. I don't know.
A lot of butts in that. But we were both...
I'm of Scottish descent, and I've never had any complaints.
But the flip side of this is we talk about all the fun stories and the silliness and the historical preservation. There are persistent rumors of hauntings.
There are. And I went looking for specific ghost stories.
This is Arcane Carolinas.
Right.
It's not the film podcast.
Right.
It is the spooky things and legends podcast.
Yes.
So here you go.
Yes. So I went looking for ghost stories tied specifically to the Carolina Theater. And I found more than one location online where people described 2 specific ghost stories tied explicitly to the Carolina Theater of Durham.
Right, because there's so many.
Right. And one is that supposedly in 1981 there was a fire and that a young woman in the balcony died.
Oh.
And that now she haunts the theater.
I did not know that one.
And is seen as a figure in white who can be seen in the balcony from the stage.
Okay.
There's a problem with that story. The Carolina Theater of Durham has never had a fire.
Oh, and in 1981,
and in 1981 they were open. They were being operated
right.
by...
They were doing that group.
Yeah, exactly. The Carolina Theater of Greensboro was closed in 1981, and somebody who had gotten into the building did cause a fire in the balcony, and she did die.
Okay.
So the story is based on a real event that happened in Greensboro, but on the internet in the age of people like copying and pasting stories everywhere,
right,
that has wound up assigned to the Carolina Theater of Durham.
Okay.
Which is not the place where it possibly could have happened.
Is the Carolina Theater Greensboro open again?
Oh yeah, they're open. They went through a similar process of like the downtown sort of died, the theater closed. A nonprofit came in and said, we really want to save this historic structure, and they went through a long process to renovate it, and now it's a 1,000-seat theater with a ton of artistic stuff that happens there, in addition to movies.
Yoo-hoo, indeed.
Yoo-hoo, indeed.
Maybe that's our next piece of swag. It'll just be a 1-inch button or something. Arcane Carolinas, yoo-hoo, indeed. Okay, but I like that, right? Because you can still go to that one and maybe...
Oh, yeah. That place probably is haunted as heck.
Yeah, you can chase that legend there.
Yeah.
But don't go looking for it here.
Yeah. A different one is that in 1926, while the theater was being constructed, a worker named Fred...
Okay, I know about Fred.
Okay.
I've heard there's a ghost named Fred.
Fell to his death.
I'm Fred.
Yep. I was. I am and surely will be in the past tense.
Pepper Fluke, remember me!
Oh... Maybe somewhere they're talking about it right now. And
there I was, falling. The ground was coming up fast.
Shouldn't have worn better shoes. So,
oh no, it's that guy again.
Oh God!
What if they're all just hanging out?
What if they're all just haunting the crap out of this place, and they're all just like, "Oh, it's the moon guy again." So. We've seen it before.
We know.
We get it. So, the theory goes that Fred haunts the backstage.
Okay.
And the performers will report lights flickering and flicking on and off in dressing rooms and in rehearsal spaces and things like that. And that at the end of a successful performance, performers are urged to thank Fred aloud for not having disrupted their show.
Oh, thank Fred.
And that staff will thank Fred on their way out at the end of the night.
Okay.
But again, that seems to actually be a story about something that happened at the Carolina Theater of Greensboro and not the Carolina Theater of Durham.
See, I had just heard that there was a ghost named Fred that you could sometimes see in the theater.
Oh. I don't know anything about that.
Somebody just told me that. It's total, word of mouth. Just hey, what's up with the Carolina Theater? Oh, there's a ghost named Fred.
So, okay, to some degree I'm making an assumption here because I saw the Fred story and the woman in the balcony story together everywhere I saw any story about either of them. So my assumption was that one must be about the Carolina Theater of Durham, the Theater of Greensboro also.
Sure, yeah, no, I agree.
But
I agree.
But maybe that one is actually about this Carolina Theater.
Maybe. There's a helicopter going over? No. Yeah. We'll wait for that to pass.
Yeah.
I think we should just post this uncut for the ridiculousness.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Here's the real experience.
Also, we're not usually in person doing this.
Yeah, it's so weird. It's always isn't that like the third
Do I look ahead?
time?
Because I'm so
Yeah, right.
Do I look at them? For those of you listening to the audio after the fact, I pointed at the phone.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, right? Because I feel like things have just been lifted from that other theater. If you want to do a ghost hunt, go to Greensboro.
Yeah.
Probably not the one in Durham.
But maybe the one in Durham.
But maybe.
I don't know.
But maybe.
But maybe.
Who's to say? We do know that the mooning happened here.
We do know that the mooning happened here.
That is solid, solid legend.
So if you want to see a ghost in the balcony, go to Greensboro.
If you want to see ghost butts.
Or if you just want to moon somebody.
We do not actually advocate for that. The proprietors of Arcane Carolinas do not encourage actually mooning.
Don't trespass and moon people who have not consented to being mooned.
I do think it's funny that on a long enough timeline, we've probably said, but don't do that. A dozen times? 24 times?
More than that, yeah.
Do as I say, not as I do.
I was listening to the, I was like pre-listening to the Gimgul episode.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh gosh, we told them not to go trespass, right? And then like the next thing out of your mouth in that episode was, don't go there and trespass. That is private. And I was like, okay, yes.
Yes.
Whew.
Not that I did, but you shouldn't do it.
So that's everything that I've got.
Sweet. Well, let's pack it up. Let's head inside. Thank you to the Carolina Theatre of Durham for having us. Let's read the comments really quick on the live feed.
Where his whole band shirt. I can't actually read the comments.
I'm sorry. It's far away. Listen, we're gonna stop the audio now, and we're gonna go tend to the phone.
Yes.
All right.
That's what we're gonna do.
All right.
Bye.
You've been listening to Arcane Carolinas. Thanks for joining us. If you liked it, give us a rating, leave a comment. If you didn't like it, send us an email and tell us why. If you're not wrong, we'll try to fix it.
And if you're interested in award-winning speculative fiction, including science fiction, urban fantasy, and horror, find me, Michael G. Williams, at www.michaelgwilliamsbooks.com and check out Falstaff Books at falstaffbooks.com.
If you'd like to pick up some Arcane Carolinas merch, look at behind-the-scenes info, pictures, videos, stuff like that, all the things that get cut, check out arcanecarolinas.com, where you can get access to our Patreon, our Facebook, our Twitter, our Instagram, all that in one place, including the merch store. Buy a shirt.
Clothe your body.
Drape your body in our wares.
Be our living billboards.